What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Team Gradelock here. Of course, I'm your host, Henry Rico from Team Gradelock, and today we have our Cardfight Vanguard Premium deck profile of Nightmare Dolls. Yes, I did say premium because I know usually on our channel we do a lot of standard, but today we have a premium deck profile of Nightmare Dolls. This build I've been playing for months now. This is the only premium deck that I've actually been playing, and so far it's been working out great. I've been winning a lot of matches, and it is very fun. Main reason why is because it's Nightmare Dolls. I mean, come on. Whoever would expect that Nightmare Dolls will actually do pretty well in the meta. So I've been playing this build for a while, mainly against a lot of decks, a lot of Shadow Paladins, Gold Paladins, and Neonectars. So far, my worst matchup, of course, is against Gold Paladins and potentially Murakumo. So far, those are my two worst matchups. But besides that, almost every other deck I have a pretty good matchup against, unless I draw that bad. But I'm going to explain my build, break it down for you guys, and show you why this deck is really fun. But before we start the deck profile, please remember to comment, like, subscribe, and check out our channel for more videos. And let's get on with the deck profile. First card is, of course, the starter. This starter is the original starter for Pale Moon in standard format. The reason why we're playing this starter and not the other starter for Nightmare Dolls is just for the fact that we don't want to waste Counterblast. This deck is very Counterblast heavy by turn 3 or turn 4, so you don't want to use that much Counterblast unless you actually need to, unless you're going Super Plus. But with the other Nightmare Doll starters, they don't really go Plus. They just start the engine for your deck. It doesn't really go. It doesn't become a 1-for-1. It becomes a 1-for-0. But with this card, it gives you one card in the soul, and you draw a card. The soul does matter because in this build we do soul blast a lot. Next we have critical triggers. We play 4 copies of the regular critical trigger for Pale Moon, and then we're playing 4 copies of the G critical trigger, the one that gives you plus plus 10k when your Vanguard attacks, put into the soul, give your Vanguard plus 10 and draw a card. And also it's a 15k guard shield now, thank God. So that you definitely need at least 4 copies of this critical trigger in your deck, just for the fact that it does soul charge. And again, this deck does soul blast a lot because Nightmare Doll Alice does require a soul blast. Overall, you don't have to play 8 critical triggers, but me, preferably, I would recommend to play 8 critical triggers, because with this deck, you cannot play the long game. You have to try and finish off your opponent by turn 3 or turn 4. Next, we play 4 Perfect Guards, the Sentinel Perfect Guards. Reason why is because obviously we don't have space for regular PGs, regular grade 1 PGs. As for the draw triggers, we definitely do need it to draw into certain cards. Say for instance, this deck, we definitely need to have at least 2 Nightmare Doll Alices in the hand. So having 4 draw triggers definitely does help out. Does help me out get the Nightmare Doll Alice to my hand. You can play 6 or 7, but right now at the moment, playing 4 draw triggers is working out perfectly fine. Next, we have 2 regular heal triggers from the standard format, and then we also play 2 heal triggers, 2 promo heal triggers from G format. Now, of course, this heal trigger doesn't have the 20k guard shield, but this heal trigger, of course, if you G guard and if you have another heal trigger in your drop zone, you can remove both of them to either counter charge or soul charge. Now, again, we do counter blast a lot, so the counter charge is really good. Also, the soul charging, depending on how bad your soul is, this card can fix it up very easily. Especially if you're trying to set up for next turn, if you're trying to make sure that Nightmare Doll Alice can restand 4 times, you definitely want to put as much cards into your soul as possible. So this heal trigger does come in super clutch. Again, it's not a 20k guard shield, but just for the fact that this G guard can potentially help you counter charge or soul charge, is definitely worth playing. Now onto the grade 1s, we have the MVP Nightmare Doll Leslie. By the way, this common grade 1 is actually going for like $2 or $3 or $4 online. So what she does is, whenever a Nightmare Doll Alice goes into the soul, you can restand this card for free. Unfortunately, she is a 7k attacker, but if you hit a trigger, obviously you want to put the trigger on her because she's going to keep her standing every single time Nightmare Doll Alice does go back into the soul. So whenever I hit a critical trigger on my Vanguard, I put the crit on Vanguard, but I put the power on Nightmare Doll Leslie because she is going to continuously restand every single time Nightmare Doll Alice does go back to the soul. So again, it doesn't require Nightmare Doll Alice to come out of the soul. It only requires Nightmare Doll Alice to go into the soul to restand. Next, we're playing 4 copies of the grade 1 beat stick. Her effect is, whenever she's placed on Rigor Circle, she gets +2 for every other work ward. So basically every other Nightmare Doll that we're playing on Vanguard or Rigor. So usually I would set up my soul to make sure I have at least 1 copy of her into the soul to make a big beefy column, or potentially I put 2 of them into the soul. Overall, this grade 1 is actually not that bad to play, especially if I'm rushing my opponent by turn 2. We do have a certain grade 2 that actually does make the deck go more faster, especially with this grade 1, which I'll show you in a bit. But overall, I'd highly recommend to play 4 copies of this card because you definitely want to see at least 1 copy in the soul, but it would be amazing if you can see 2 copies of this card into your soul to call out to keep doing numerous combo attacks with this grade 1 or Leslie. Next, for grade 1s, we have 3 Stride Assists. Of course, in this deck, we do have 9 grade 3s, but unfortunately, those grade 3s, we actually do need them in the soul or in the hand or in Rigor Circle. So having 3 Stride Assists does help out occasionally. At times, I only have 2 grade 3s in my hand, but to be honest, I don't want to stride with them, I don't want to ditch them, and I also don't want to discard 2 cards just to stride. So having this grade 1 Stride Assist does come in super clutch. Mainly for the fact that, again, if I have a Nightmare Doll Catherine in the hand and Nightmare Doll Alice in the hand, I want to ride Nightmare Doll Catherine and then call Nightmare Doll Alice to the field. So instead of ditching a grade 3, which I actually do need, I'd rather just ditch this Stride Assist to stride. And the last grade 1, we play 2 copies of Nightmare Doll Beverly. What she does is, on place in the same column in front of her, if you call a Workroid or a Nightmare Doll, that unit gets plus 5k. So basically, if I have the whole Nightmare Doll Alice combo, and if she's already rested, I can call Nightmare Doll Alice to call in front of her, and then Nightmare Doll Alice gets plus 5k every single time she comes out. So let's say, for instance, I do Nightmare Doll Jenny to get Alice. Alice comes out. Jenny, of course, gives plus 5k to Alice, and then, of course, this gives another plus 5k to Alice, making Alice a 22k attacker by herself. So playing 2 copies of this grade 1 is actually pretty good. It's almost as good as Nightmare Doll Leslie. On to the grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Nightmare Doll Jenny. This card you have to play. Basically, her effect is whenever she's called out to Rigor Circle, you can put it into the soul to call out a Nightmare Doll Alice, and if you do call out a Nightmare Doll Alice, the Nightmare Doll Alice gets plus 5k, which is broken. So basically, there's a whole combo loop which you can do with Nightmare Doll Jenny with Nightmare Doll Alice. Basically, with her effect, you don't really miss timing because, again, on place on Rigor Circle, it's an auto ability. So even during battle, when you can call out Jenny, then Jenny's going to automatically call out Nightmare Doll Alice, and of course, Nightmare Doll Alice gets plus 5k, making Nightmare Doll Alice a 17k attacker. So Jenny's, you definitely want to see at least 2 copies of her in the soul, at least 2 copies. Preferably, you would want all 4 of them, or maybe even 3 of them. But overall, Nightmare Doll Jenny is one of the best grade 2s in this deck. Also, it's your number 1 grade 2 ride that you also want to have. Next, we're playing 4 copies of Nightmare Doll Master Brenda. Basically, what she does is, on Rigor Circle, you can put her into the soul to call out any other Nightmare Doll out to the field, besides another copy of her. And if that card goes back into the soul, you can automatically recall out the Nightmare Doll Brenda that was sent into the soul in the first place that called out that card. So basically, let's say this is my Vanguard and this is my soul. I can call out Brenda's skill. I'm gonna call out this grade 3. Brenda goes into the soul, and then if any reason whatsoever, if this grade 3 does go back into the soul, Nightmare Doll Brenda automatically comes back out. But unfortunately, her effect is negated for the rest of the turn. Overall, the main reason why we play her is to call out Nightmare Doll Leslie, Nightmare Doll Alice, or Jenny from the soul. So let's say, for instance, all the good cards that I want are in my soul, not in my hand. Nightmare Doll Brenda definitely fixes that. Especially, it gives you a +1 depending on what turn you go off against your opponent. Usually by turn 3, when I stride against my opponent, and if I activate Nightmare Doll Brenda, usually the hook combo play gets me a +2, especially because she's gonna come back out. Because usually the card that I call out with her goes back into the soul, and then she comes back out. But again, guys, like I said, usually I would call out a Nightmare Doll Leslie or Alice with her, just in case, because sometimes we can't control what we soul charge, and Nightmare Doll Brenda does fix that. Next grade 2, we play Nightmare Doll Ely. I do apologize if I said her name wrong. She is actually really good. I've been noticing like a lot of good plays with her. Basically, her effect is on attack against your opponent's Vanguard, you can counter+1, put another Nightmare Doll Vanguard into your soul, and then she gets +10k, and you draw a card. So basically, I can rush my opponent by turn 2, turn 3 with her effect. Yes, her effect is a counterblast, but it does give her a plus 10k and you draw a card. So potentially I can push my opponent to 4 damage by turn 3, or even 5 damage by turn 3. I've actually a lot of games where I had a really good hand. It would be her. Let's say this is my Vanguard, and let's say this is my rear guard. So let's say I call her out last, so she gets plus 4. So now she's a 12k attacker. Attack, counterblast 1, put her into a soul, she just put 10k, and then draw a card, making her a 19k attacker. Usually, you would want that because you don't want your opponent to get rid of your rear guards early game. To be honest, early game, you don't want to call out your rear guards unless you can put them back into the soul. So the reason why I like her so much is just the fact that I can overextend by turn 2 and not regret it, because I can just put cards back into my soul, and she replaces herself basically. So overall, I'm only playing 2 copies of her. I want to bump it up to 3, but I just don't have the space. She is definitely a phenomenal grade 2. Last grade 2, we played the Beat Stick. Basically what she does is she does the same exact thing as a grade 1, but instead she's a 9k attacker. Again, usually I want to see her in the soul. I want to make sure that she's in the soul, not in my hand or in the grave or a damage zone. But overall, having at least 1 copy of her does work out, just for the fact that I can't always rely on having just this one grade 1 beat stick. Having her as a grade 2 beat stick does come in clutch, especially pushing my opponent by turn 4 or turn 5. Now on to grade 3s. We're playing 4 copies of Nightmare Doll Alice. There is no reason why you shouldn't play 4 copies of Nightmare Doll Alice. Basically what she does is, when she attacks your opponent's Vanguard, it doesn't have to hit, or it doesn't need to hit. If she doesn't hit, or if she does hit, you can counterblast 1, soul blast 1, put her into the soul, and then call out a non-grade 3 Nightmare Doll from the soul to the rear guard circle. So basically, she's gonna get another attack out. And of course, when you put her into the soul, you're gonna call out Nightmare Doll Jenny. Jenny then goes back into the soul to call out her again, but instead she comes back with plus 5k, making her a 17k attacker. So again, Nightmare Doll Alice is one of the best grade 3s I've ever seen in standard format, especially in premium format. Like, her effect is insane. Unfortunately, the Soul Blast does hurt because, of course, in this build, we don't really want to Soul Blast anything. So that's why I keep saying, guys, you want to Soul Charge as much as possible, even with the heal triggers, just for the fact that we do Soul Blast a lot, especially when you're pushing for final turn with Nightmare Doll Alice. Next grade 3, we're playing 4 copies of Nightmare Doll Carol. She is the newest grade 3 that we just got. Basically, what she does is, on place, Vanguard Circle, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Put one of them into your soul and shuffle your deck. If it's a grade 3, you may call out the rear guard circle. So basically, it's a +1 if you get a grade 3 from the top 5 cards of your deck, which usually does happen for me because, again, I'm playing 9 grade 3s, so the odds of her effect actually going off does come in clutch, especially if it's Nightmare Doll Alice. Her other ability, which we honestly don't really activate that much, her other ability is when your grade 3 rear guard is put into your soul, counterblast 1, discard 2 cards, and ride a work word from your soul onto the Vanguard standing. So basically, it's a restanding Vanguard. So let's say Nightmare Doll Alice attacks, put into a soul, I can counterblast 1, discard 2 cards, and then call out Alice as my Vanguard standing, so Alice can attack again. Again, usually I don't really use that effect unless I'm going second against my opponent, because obviously a lot of people want to strike first in that premium format. But I'm sorry. Usually that effect does go off when I go first, not second. I do apologize. So whenever I go first, my opponent, if I do activate that skill with Nightmare Doll Alice, I do push my opponent to 5 damage, which is great because, of course, my next turn I should finish my opponent off. But overall, she is the main grade 3 Vanguard that you do want to be on. Just the fact that she gives you that +1, and potentially you may reride your Vanguard to get another twin drive. And last grade 3, I'm playing 1 copy of Nightmare Doll Catherine, just for the fact that, again, I do want to play more grade 3s, and she's actually a pretty good grade 3, just for the fact that when you on-ride Vanguard, you can look through your deck for 1 Nightmare Doll and put it into your soul. It could be any Nightmare Doll. It could be a grade 3 Nightmare Doll, it could be a grade 2, grade 1, or even a grade 0. Of course, the main Nightmare Doll that you do want to put into soul is either Nightmare Doll Alice, or Jenny, or where are you? Leslie. These are the main grade 3s that you always want to put in the soul. So most likely, at times when Catherine is my only grade 3, I would always put always put in at least one of these 3 cards into the soul. Her other ability is honestly really irrelevant. It doesn't really push for that much damage like how it used to beforehand. But usually, again, the main purpose that we're playing her is because she's another grade 3 Nightmare doll, and just the fact that her on ride skill is actually really good. Now on to the G Zone. We're playing 3 copies of this amazing stride for Pale Moon, by the way. Honestly, I don't understand why Pale Moon got this stride. This stride is just so good. So basically her effect is when she attacks, I think when or after she attacks, you can flip a card in your G Zone. It doesn't have to be the same copy of her. And then at the end of the battle, you can put a card face up in your G Zone that has a mega ability, put it on Vanguard, and then put her onto Rigor Circle. Broken. But that new Vanguard only gets 1 drop check, which is fine. So you're basically getting 2 Vanguard attacks, 1 with triple drive and then one with 1 drop check. But she's going out on the Rigor Circle as a 15k Rigard. So that's a +2 right there. If you honestly think about it, you're getting another drop check and you're getting another beefy Rigard. That's 15k. Come on. And of course, obviously I'm gonna bring him up soon, but overall she's one of the best strides that Pale Moon has at the moment. Just for the fact that she gets you another attack in, and of course it's another Vanguard attack, which gets you another drop check. But enough about her. We have to go over the next stride, which is definitely the MVP. Now on to Masquerade Master Harry. What this card does is, when it attacks your opponent's Vanguard, counterblast 1, flip a copy of himself in your G Zone face up. You can put 2 cards from your Rigor Circle into the soul, and then you can call out 3 cards from your soul to the Rigor Circle. If they have the mega ability, they get power, but honestly, no, there's no cards in our build that have the mega ability. Basically, it's just calling out new columns, calling out more attacks. Usually, I would call out either Nightmare Doll Alice, Leslie, or another Alice, but just the fact that this card gets me 2 more attacks, potentially even 3 more attacks, is broken. I'm definitely going to explain the whole thing at the end of the video. But for now, let's keep going with the G Zone. The next stride is the Progenitor Stride. Of course, this card comes in super clutch, especially when my opponent overextends. It nukes their board, and then I get to soul charge for each card that I nuke. So there's 2 big factors with this card. Again, I have to have two of the same grade 3s in my hand, which is not that easy to pull off. But if I do pull it off, I'm nuking my opponent's Rigards, and I'm also putting cards into the soul, which does matter because in this build we do soul blast a lot. Also, we're drawing cards, but again, the biggest factor is soul charging. Next, we're playing 2 copies of Nightmare Doll of the Abyss Beatrix. Of course, this card we normally don't stride into because, of course, your #1 stride that you're gonna go into is her. But if you do run out of copies of playing her, and if you go into Beatrix, let's say for instance you don't even have a counterblast, or if you don't even have that good of a soul to call out Rigards, you can stride out her, and she does come in clutch. But to be honest, I honestly never really stride into her. Only if my hand is that bad. I didn't play 1 copy of the Sea Breeze because, of course, if my opponent does play the grade 2 game, I can just stride into Sea Breeze, and Sea Breeze does come in super clutch, especially if my hand is that good with Nightmare Doll Leslie and Nightmare Doll Alice. Now onto G-Guards. I'm playing 1 copy of this G-Guard. Basically what this card does is, depending on what cards are on my soul, if I have 4 different cards with different names, this G-Guard gets a plus 15k guard. It's pretty simple. It's not that hard to pull off, so it usually does go off. Next G-Guard is Dismal. The reason why I play 1 copy of Dismal is just the fact that if I do try to one-shot kill my opponent by turn 3, and if I don't, and if my opponent tries to nuke my board or tries to attack my grade 3 Nightmare Doll Alice, I can call out Dismal to protect Nightmare Doll Alice until my next turn, where I can go off with that card. Usually it does happen sometimes where I try to finish my opponent that turn, and unfortunately it does leave my board exposed, leaving Nightmare Doll Alice out, which I don't want her to get attacked, by the way. So usually having 1 Dismal protects her for the rest of the turn until next turn. You definitely want to play at least 1 Dismal. And then for the other G-Guards, we're playing 3 copies of the Mega Trick. Main reason why I play 3 copies of this card is just for the fact that you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you can put 1 of them into your soul, and then the other 2 in the bottom of your deck in any order. The bottom of the deck doesn't really matter. what matters the most is putting a card into your soul, and you get to choose. Usually, it would be Nightmare Doll Alice, Jenny, or Leslie, or even sometimes if it's all triggers. It's whatever. But the soul charging is definitely a huge factor because, again, guys, we do soul blast a lot in this build. All right, guys. So now I'm gonna break down this build even more. I'm gonna show you guys what my stride turn looks like. So let's say I'm going second. I'm striding first. So obviously I'm gonna stride. My first stride is gonna be, of course, this one. She's always gonna be your first stride in this deck, just for the fact that she does so much work and she can potentially one-shot kill your opponent by turn 3. So obviously we're gonna attack with her first. Well, I'm sorry. First we'll do Brenda's skill first. Put it into soul. We're gonna call out grade 1. Where is it? This grade 1, not there. Doesn't really matter. We're gonna attack with Vanguard first. Drive check. We're gonna drive these. These are my drive checks. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna put the crit on Vanguard and then the 2K to Nightmare Doll Leslie right here. So now Leslie is a 27k attacker, 27k booster. Then we're gonna activate her ability. Her ability is you can, of course, flip a card in your G zone, and if it has the Magi ability, you can put onto Vanguard, restanding, and then call her out to Rigor Circle. So after that, what I would do is attack with Rigor first, and then attack with him. His effect is a counterblast 1, flip a copy of himself in the G zone. You can put up to 2 cards from the Rigor circles into your soul, which we'll do right now. And it's gonna be Jenny. It's gonna be her. And let's say I have an Excel circle. It's gonna be her. So this is what my board would look like afterwards. But this is where things get even more better. Now a +1 does happen because, of course, we just sent Brenda into the soul to get a grade 1, and now since that grade 1 went back into the soul, we can call her Brenda anywhere. But of course, in this situation, which does come up a lot, if my board is full, I'll just put Brenda in the backboard to save for next turn if I don't finish off my opponent that turn. Then we activate Jenny's skill, put it into the soul to call out Nightmare Doll Alice, and then she gets +5k. So now she's a 17k attacker by herself. And let's say I have 4 open counterblasts. So now next we're gonna attack with the Vanguard, flip, another trigger. We'll give it to Nightmare Doll Leslie. And usually I would attack with my whole board first and then attack with Nightmare Doll Alice. But again, if we have 4 counterblasts open, I can just keep doing Nightmare Doll Alice's ability. All we gotta do is just soul blast other 4 cards, which is not that hard. We can just soul blast these 4 cards. And she'll just keep coming out, and this is gonna keep restanding. So she comes out. This is a 37k booster plus 17k, so that is 49.54. So this is 54 attacking my opponent consistently every single time, just for the fact that I have multiple counterblasts to use and Nightmare Doll Jenny to keep calling her out to giving her +5k. So again, guys, this build is insane. It can finish off your opponent by turn 3 or turn 4. Usually, if it doesn't finish off your opponent by turn 4, you're gonna lose because, of course, in premium format, there is no more long game in my premium format, depending on what deck you're going up against. But overall, this build is very fun. I had a great time playing it. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna keep playing it for the rest of the premium format. Yeah. So guys, if you enjoyed the build, please leave a like, a thumbs up. And if you guys want to leave any comments, leave a comment down below. I will definitely reply to your comments. And subscribe to the channel for more videos. If you guys haven't subscribed yet to our channel, I do recommend it. But overall, this build is very fun. I love playing Nightmare Dolls. And I'm just so surprised on how well this deck is working. Mainly for the fact that Pale Moon got this stride. This stride is making everything work out so well for this deck. Just the fact that this stride combos out with Masquerade Master Harry so well. And then Masquerade Harry combos out perfectly with Nightmare Doll Alice and Nightmare Doll Leslie and Nightmare Doll Jenny. So overall, again, this is honestly, I think, is the preferred build for Pale Moon. I could be right, could be wrong. Comment down below. Let me know if you guys think Harry would be better than Nightmare Dolls in the premium format. So yeah, guys, I will see you guys next time. Deuces.